Hi, I'm Mansell Davis, the King of Aces. Thanks for buying Tac-Tic, what we think is the most exciting, innovative, and successful golf training device ever. Now, I don't know of a golfer alive that doesn't want to become a better player, to lower their score, to get their handicap down to where you can win a couple of those $2 Nassaus. Tac-Tic is a device to do just that, make you a better golfer. Quite simply, Tac-Tic is a training device that fits on the front or leading hand in the golf swing to position your hands effectively, to get the hands in the same position that the great players, as we know today, have when they make solid contact. Now, the hands are important throughout the swing, but at critical positions as I initiate the swing, they become more critical. Tac-Tic is easy to use, easy to put on, and is very user-friendly. I can use it from the moment I take it out of the package. I'm on my way to becoming a better player with Tac-Tic. To put Tac-Tic in place, you simply take the middle finger of the front or leading hand, put it in the finger attachment. You'll loop the buckle, you'll secure it. It's a Velcro attachment. Now, if you have smaller hands, we can adjust the finger attachment simply by adjusting the finger attachment itself, looping or twirling. The beauty of Tac-Tic is it works for left-handed players, right-handed players, hands of all size. Easy to put on, and it's easy to improve your game as soon as you're comfortable working with it. Now, as I said, Tac-Tic is designed to keep my hands in the appropriate position throughout the swing. How do I know if I violated the position? Well, Tac-Tic lets me know in two ways. Number one, it's audio. I hear Tac-Tic if I violate the appropriate position by allowing my wrist to become out of a flat position. It's also tactile. I can feel the steel reinforced rod as I'm making the golf swing, so I know that my wrists are in the appropriate position. Easy to use, easy to practice with. I can play with it if it's a practice round. This is making me play better golf. With Tac-Tic now in position and in place, we can start to effectively train the hands to be in the proper position throughout the swing at the most critical areas. Now, quite frankly, they're very simple, but those critical areas dictate what kind of shot I'm going to hit. If my hands are not in the proper position, primarily at impact, I don't know whether the ball will slice, hook, high, low. I can hit any array of shots because my hands are in a different position each time. With Tac-Tic, I can get my hands in the same position, not only from the address position all the way to the top of the takeaway, but more importantly at the impact position to create a solid lever, to create a solid repetitive golf swing. In the tournaments that I've participated in the golfers I've been able to see in coaching and watching them play, the average golfer faces two very critical areas of the golf swing that can be altered dramatically and immediately with Tac-Tic. The first would be in the address position. If I set up and my hands are starting behind the ball or in a weakened position and I stay there throughout the swing, I have the club entering at a very, very shallow angle of attack. This dictates numerous poor golf shots. If I can adjust my hands or train my hands to be in a stronger or preset position as I initiate the golf swing, I can now take the club back and the club head in one simple motion, getting me to the second critical area of a golf swing where my hands must be in appropriate positions, that being the top. Most players in this position tend to have the hands in the over-the-top position or creased position. Again, from here, I'm dealing from a position of very much weak motion and in a position where I have to correct as I make the downward stroke. With Tac-Tic in place, I'm encouraged quite simply to have the left wrist flat or on plane. From the appropriate position here, I can initiate the downswing effectively and very often in the same manner. I'm going to keep my hands in control. I'm leading from a position of strength because I've created the appropriate set position at the top. Now I get to the most critical part of the golf swing, in my opinion, that being the impact area. Most golfers get into trouble when they make contact, allowing the golf club to pass their hands. Now think about it. With Tac-Tic in place, I'm encouraged to make contact, driving the club to the contact position with my hands leading, creating the power and the accuracy that I desire. Again, most players get into the position of allowing the right side to over-accelerate, to overpower, passing the hands, and now I've lost all of my authority. I've lost all of my control of the golf club. Tac-Tic puts me in the appropriate position at impact. Very simply, that is the position I started out with at the address position. A good solid leading edge. It's very simple. Tac-Tic allows me to have a flat plane, a flat left or leading front hand. Now I'm in a position of controlling the golf club as I make contact with the golf ball. If I can use Tac-Tic and learn to train my hands to get them in the appropriate position at the top, the appropriate position at impact, I'm on my way to becoming the best player I can become. Now that's what I think about Tac-Tic, but I'll tell you what, we're going to spend some time today with two guys who know quite a bit about this crazy game of golf we play. We're going to join Ben Doyle, maybe the real guru of golf. He knows more about the golf swing than I think almost anybody on the planet. Ben's worked with thousands of players from around the world on their quest to becoming the best players they possibly can become. He'll share some secrets and tell us what he thinks about Tac-Tic. After that, we're going to join Wally Goodwin, the golf coach at Stanford University. Now, Wally's worked with some of the greatest young players in the game in the 10 years at Stanford. One kid, Tiger Woods, I think you might hear of him, so keep an eye on that name. But let's join them over on the practice range. Ben Doyle is a legend in the game of golf. Ben's taught more golfers to play the game than probably anybody alive. No matter how long he's been at it, Ben still has a youthful enthusiasm for golf. And he's just as enthusiastic about Tac-Tic.
What Tac-Tic does, it gives you three choices.
Okay.
They're not all redheads, right? Blondes and brunettes, right?
I like it.
So classically speaking, so the Tac-Tic will give you the feel of the waggle, and it gives you that sound. So it's a tack, one's flat, a tick, one's bent, right?
Exactly.
See, and so at address attitude, it's bent, and impact is flat. See, so I can start classically at address attitude. I can waggle, stand back a little bit more now, so, and I can go back and forward press to impact, come back center, right, and then take it back to impact attitude and stay in impact right on through, and come back to have a tick at the finish. So that'd be just a bread and butter approach. Now, Freddie Couples, Bobby Jones, Davis Love, that would offend them because they like to start at a classy address position where the left wrist bent and right wrist is flat, and the club face appears closed. It is closed. See, and then through the pivot, take it back and still have the left wrist in a tick position, and it's still bent or tick, and it's still bent and tick. But then as you come down, they horse it back out flat, and they keep to get the line of compression impact for the tack, and keep it tack, and then come back to the bent tick position.
So I'm hearing something fairly unique. Tac-Tic works for golfers of any type golf swing, it sounds like to me. We have the traditional, we have the Freddie Couples, which dictates more of the motion of the hands having movement prior to the takeaway. And then I can go all the way through the extremes of every swing that's imaginable. I'm talking about several positions, both as I initiate the swing, the freedom of movement. I don't mind hearing noise from Tic-Tac at that point.
That's a feedback.
I don't want to be in a locked, rigid position.
Right.
And also I'm getting the feedback visually and audibly with the sound at the impact or tack position, as you call it.
Well,
so this works for anybody.
Well, that's absolutely right, man. So, see, now the left wrist, we're under that law of the lever. See, the left wrist horizontally, it can be flat, it can bend, it can arch. The perpendicular, it's level, it can cock and uncock. Rotation, it can be vertical, it can turn and roll. There's 9 conditions. But the Tic-Tac, it monitors the horizontal motion of the left wrist. See, and of course the flat left wrist is the #1 imperative, and the equivalent to a flat left wrist would be a bent right wrist. And that's the secret side of handshake, right?
Exactly. I've seen your handshake many times.
Right. It's a powerful teaching aid. It says because a person like the sound. You hear, some people learn by sound. Some people learn by eyesight. Some people learn by feel. See, mechanics produce and feel reproduce. Mechanics the grip in the club. Mechanics the waggle. Now the feel of the waggle. See, mechanics produce and feel reproduce. So it gives you the right mechanics and it gives you the right feel. So you can monitor. You can know where you are. You know where those hands are just by hearing the sound. Like double wrist action. It's going to help my students learn a lot quicker, right? you know, it's so they take some home and practice with it, just practice with it, and they learn to have a flat left wrist, learn to keep the left wrist flat. So this is going to really learn what you hear, quiet hands. People are going to learn to listen for those hands. That's going to give real meaning to quiet hands. You've heard for years, quiet hands. Well, let's be so quiet so we can hear our tick or tack. What are we doing? Are we ticking or tacking right here? So through the impact, it's got to be a tack. But if you hear a tick, which is a bent left wrist, a tick, then you got problems.
I like your statement. With Tac-Tic, I can educate the hands to the appropriate golf swing.
So a person take it home like this, practice without a club in the hand, just and educate your hands. So, you know, in front of the mirror, you watch. So it's bent or tick. We're in an attack position. We're staying in an attack position like an Australian hitchhike action here, right? And then if we want to, we stay there, or we can go back in tick position.
Ben Doyle, as you can see, likes to use a lot of props when he's teaching golf.
Press.
But the guru of golf is sold on Tac-Tic as one of the best coaching aids he's ever seen. How you doing this morning, Wally?
Hi, Mansell. How are you? Nice to see you.
Coach Wally Goodwin at Stanford University has a completely different approach to teaching than Ben Doyle. But like Ben, Wally's impressed with Tac-Tic.
This is a very simple thing that everybody can use in the game of golf. I think it helps the condition of the left wrist. It's a wonderful, wonderful training device.
Now, Wally, in 10 years of coaching at Stanford, I know you've seen an entire array of golf swings. All of us aren't fortunate enough to have Tiger Woods' golf swing, but would Tac-Tic work with any type of golfer, whether it be beginner, intermediate, or even a Tiger Woods type swing?
Well, I think it does. I think right from the beginners on up to the finished players. The thing about it is, Mansell, it sets you in the correct position at address. I thought what I'd do was just unstrap this to show how I think it works the best. It's important not to have it too loose. It's important not to have it very tight. So kind of a medium position. The first big advantage of the Tac-Tic is that if you let your left hand hang down at your side and put the club down there and get it in your fingers properly, it automatically sets your left wrist in the proper condition. It's not too strong, it's not too weak. Your left hand hangs down, fits on the club, it's in the proper position. And you notice when I do that, if I go to a strong position, the Tac-Tic clicks. So we hold it in the proper position, and now we're ready to address the golf ball and get into our swing procedure. Putting both hands on the golf club is perfect. And if I can run through the swing, let me show you how this thing really reacts to me.
I like it.
I'll get into the address position. My left wrist is flat. I've not taken my proper stance. I've looked down the fairway a couple of looks. Getting into the backswing, my wrist stays flat. My left wrist is flat at the top of the backswing. My body rotates. My left wrist stays flat at impact. And the important feature is that the left wrist still doesn't break down out here and that the right hand is facing the target. The Tac-Tic does that perfectly.
Now, a lot of golfers are what I would call handsy. They get the club passing the hands at the impact zone. They get flippy with it at the top. But what I'm seeing and hearing from you about Tac-Tic, this works for that golfer immediately, putting them in better position. But there are also golfers that are more of a body swing type motion. This would work for them, but it would also serve as just as a reinforcement. They're not utilizing the hands as much within the golf swing as some players I know.
Ansel, you're exactly right. I think right from the address position, clear through the entire swing, whether it's a handsy player or a body player, this is a great teaching device. It serves for everybody, every purpose, and I'm sure that if we got on the green, it would work for putters too. It's just an all-around great device.
I'll tell you what I'm hearing, Wally. We've been making the game too difficult. It seems to me like with Tac-Tic, I can work with golfers of any ability, get it on their hands, and train their hands to be in the same position that most of the great ball strikers are in, at the critical portions of the golf swing.
Well, I think a lot of golf instruction has gotten very complicated with all sorts of complicated devices. And in reality, at least in my judgment, the impact position and the address position are the two identical positions in terms of left wrist condition. So this Tac-Tic gets you there. It doesn't let you waver back here. It gets you from the start, halfway back, into the finish, and into the follow-through in a perfect position. I think it's wonderful.
I've heard you say many times, with a good grip and a good address position, a lot of the swing becomes very natural. Tac-Tic seems to place the hands in a position to allow that to happen.
Well, it does. And in terms of the address position and the swing, if the body is in the proper address position, you can just go ahead and swing the golf club. But now if you have this little device with you, you're really in great shape.
Well, you've showed me how you use Tac-Tic. I want to see it in action. Fire one out there for me.
Let's do that.
Oh, eat your heart out, Tiger Woods.
Sweet.
Good swing right there.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks again, Wally. Wally Goodwin, one of golf's greatest coaches. Take a look at Wally using Tac-Tic with the pitching wedge. As Wally shows you, Tac-Tic places you in a consistent, locked wrist position for perfect putting.
Yes.
So that's really it. Tac-Tic is fun to use, it's easy to use, it makes me a better golfer right away. It fits any golfer. Big, tall, long, short, left-handed, right-handed. I can put Tac-Tic to use immediately. Thanks for joining the Tac-Tic team. Like your Tac-Tic? Pass the word and this video to a friend. And for more information about Tac-Tic, call toll-free 1-888-2-TACTIC. Thanks again for joining the Tac-Tic team.